Hi, welcome back to this demonstration of Ortus Regni. Where did we get to? The red player made an attack, drew a card. The blue player made a monk, drew a card. So let's have red play their mercenary. Remember, this provides a garrison point, so as a free action they can garrison one of their army units from the reserve. And this is placed in front of their towers, so red draws a card, and they've got the prince. So blue's going to play their banner. There's three things you can do with a banner. We've seen one of those already, and that was bid to become king. In addition, we can bequeath an earldom. For that we need a prince, so we'll look at that next. But for now, what we want to do is initiate a joust. So blue plays the banner and declares that they're initiating a joust. All you do is toss this into the middle of the table and declare that they are initiating a joust. Jousts are festive events where each earl demonstrates their wealth, power and fighting prowess of him and his followers. The stakes are high, we can win and lose prizes. Your earls must carefully consider when, how and if they can afford to participate in a joust. Once an earl has thrown down the challenge to joust, the opposing earl must be the first to react. The earl who threw the banner will always be the last to act. And what the defending player must do, if you were playing multiple players, it would go round in clockwise direction. What you're supposed to play to do is they must ante a property from their earldom. They can ante a castle if they wish, if they had multiple castles in their earldom. Obviously they can't ante their last one unless they're really confident about winning, because what will happen is that all the anteed property cards will be the prize pot for the joust winner. So if they have a property they must ante. If all they've got left is one castle or palace, then they don't have to ante. The other option is that you could just opt out by playing down a banner and kind of nullifying the joust if you had a banner in your hand. Okay, so they're going to put their land card forward as an ante. The next decision is, and this is purely optional, they don't have to, but they can tilt in the joust itself. What that means is they're going to try and compete. And to try and compete, they have to put a lord forward, either from their earldom or from their hand. If they want to tilt in the joust, they put a lord forward. If they don't tilt, then they can't compete and they can't win. So let's say with a prince in his hand, the red player chooses to have the prince tilt in the joust. The good thing about playing it from your hand is you can place it face down. So it's kind of a surprise, because this is going to have some value. Jousting is going to play out kind of like a round of Texas Hold'em, right? A little bit of poker going on here. So there's some good bluffing opportunities right now. And this is where the joust is a real dynamic, unpredictable, risky and exciting affair. Now we move to the blue player. So they're going to ante up. They're going to ante a property. And of course place a lord themselves to tilt in the joust. So they're going to choose to put this vassal forward, let's say. The card that comes from your hand doesn't have to be a face card. It could be any one of these others, so this cathedral or this treachery card. Any card from your hand could be placed face down. I'll explain why in just a moment. For now though, the joust is ready to begin. So here's our two antes, two lands. So it's a good prize for whomever wins. Face down cards are now turned up. Now blue doesn't look quite so comfortable with his challenge, because when you look at the value of your joust hands, which we're going to explain in just a moment, like in poker, some cards, face cards, have a higher value than others. King's higher than a queen, queen higher than a jack. Well, in the world of Ortus Regni, a prince is higher than a vassal, and a vassal is higher than any other face card. So they're two good cards, but the prince at the moment is just pipping the vassal. Okay, so it comes prince, vassal, and everything else. The other thing that you should be aware of is that champions, let's grab a champion, these are wild cards, so this could represent a prince or a vassal. But once we've got our tilted cards in the centre ready for the joust, then the joust initiator picks up the joust deck. And what we're going to do is we're going to complete a poker hand of 3 cards. So acting as dealer, he deals cards around the table until each player has 3 cards. And this becomes their joust hand. And what we're looking for is pairs or 3 of a kind, right? 2 of a kind or 3 of a kind. So here, red player has managed to get 2 vassals, so they got a pair of vassals. The champion here added to this, if they had a champion instead of the prince, being a wild card, this could come out as 3 of a kind. Vassal, vassal, wild card, treated as vassal, 3 of a kind. That is the highest, with the exception of 3 princes. Okay, so 2 vassals and a prince. Blue, however, also has a pair of vassals. Unfortunately, this card here is a nothing. The joust deck consists of 6 princes, 6 vassals and 12 valueless no-luck cards. Okay, so at the moment, pair of vassals is the best that blue can do. So who wins the joust? We have a pair of vassals versus a pair of vassals. Well, then you go to the 3rd card. We got a prince, which is going to pip the no luck. Red will win with a better pair of vassals than blue. And this is the potential for why it makes sense that, I don't know, maybe you play something like this from your hand as your tilt, because there's a potential to get dealt a pair from the joust deck to give you a pair. Okay, you've got nothing here, but a pair of vassals might beat, another deal like a no luck or up 2 no lucks or a no luck and a vassal. All right, so you've got to weigh up, and this is this little meta game, this jousting game, and like I say, it can pull off some great little moves, and it's an interesting thing. Like here, blue thought they were in a good position by holding a vassal and putting that down as their tilt. But, unbeknownst to them, red had the prince, the top most valued card in the joust. So, we conclude the joust. Remember, look out for champions. You've got a champion in your hand. You could put that forward as a tilt, and that's a good one. A wild card could land you 3 of a kind. If we do get in a situation of a draw, in that case, you're each dealt 1 more joust card, and you play a game of whoever gets the highest wins. Okay? So that's jousting. Great little metagame that comes along within Ortus Regni. Chuck down your banner, have something good in your hand, and hopefully win the joust. Winner wins the anteed cards. These are 2 lands. So red immediately gets to place them back in their earldom in this fief. Any cards played from the hand go to the discard pile, but unfortunately any lords that came out of a castle for the joust, they fall victim, I'm afraid. They are going to get placed in the discard. Victorious lords that come from a castle, they can go back to their castle victorious and reputation intact. The last thing you need to remember is that this joust deck gets reshuffled. So these cards, there's no discard pile here. That will get reshuffled, and potentially those same cards will be coming out for the next joust. So the odds remain the same. Just before we head out, there's a couple of things I want to mention from last time. When the monk went off as an emissary, he doesn't add just 1 cube to the bag, he adds 2. Okay, so vassals, they add 1 cube to the bag. Monks 2. Monks are a little bit weaker. Okay, they bring no attack value, but that extra 1 cube gives you that extra influence over the Vikings. And the other point was that when the Vikings, so initially I would have drawn out 3 cards for the Viking army. If some of these were killed in battle, At this point we should have all 8 stones up front. If any of these were killed in battle, on subsequent turns you continue to bring out new Vikings, right? Because they've landed. But it's not until you get back to 3 or more that the Vikings could then, by the controlling Earl, be used as an attack force. Okay, so a little bit of a nuance there with the rule that you've got to be aware of that I failed to mention last time. And finally, I wanted to talk to you about the prince. The first thing about princes is you can only have one in play at a time, whether as a lord in the castle or played from your hand. Only one prince for each earl in play at a time. And then, and this is the final action for a banner, if you play a banner on a prince lord, you can do what's called bequeathing your title on your prince. When this happens, both the prince lord and the banner are placed in your discard pile, and then the entire discard pile is reshuffled into your main deck. Okay? Make sure all the facings are the right way around. That's important because you don't want to mark cards in your deck by having them up the wrong way or something, right? That's cheating. So this way, bequeathing the title to a Prince Lord with a banner card gets your discard pile back into your deck. Effectively, what you've done is you've made your prince the new earl, hence why you've got a new earl deck and you begin life again. Okay, and you can keep bequeathing to this prince this is bequeathed to his son, the prince. Okay, so that's a nice little feature of the prince. There's one other thing the prince does for you. If you send your prince into a raid or a siege on a castle, assuming of course that's not their last castle, then you have the opportunity to seize control of those. So a prince is a valuable asset in a raid or a siege. If you win, if you're victorious, and you destroy that property, you can seize it and place it into your own earldom. I think we've pretty much covered everything. It is a big rule book, but it's great to read. It's easy to read. It's fluid, it's well explained. Like all the rest of the components, really. It's a job well done. So that's my presentation of Ortus Regni. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.